Good evening, everyone. It's Marcus Anderson here with the analysis of the speech, uh, Hannah's speech on an informative speech on sleep that she gave. So my analysis, according to the rubric there, would be with competency one. I gave her a five with that because I felt that she was prepared and that she had practiced. It was obvious that she had practiced, and it seems like she met all the assignment requirements. She was within the time, and the subject matter was good. So I thought that all of that was pretty kosher there. For competency two, I gave her a three there. She had attention getting material. It was a subject that was it's kind of well known, so it kind of was a little bit of a rehash with most everybody's common knowledge. The thesis, I believe, was clearly stated. Most of the material she covered was relevant to the topic that she had. There wasn't a one of the main reasons for counting off there was not a main uh, preview of all the points that she was going to make during the presentation. You kind of saw them kind of unfold as the presentation went on. The transition was decent there too. So again, the score for the competency two was three. For competency three, the supporting material, she had good content. Main points once they were brought out were clear, and she elaborated on them. Uh, you kind of had to go to the transition to get some of the points. Like at one point, she gave percentages of men and women that suffered from these sleep disorders, but you didn't find out until a later slide, how much of each percentage was from each gender. So it was kind of like, you kind of had to stay, focused and kind of read the material on the slide with her to figure out what was actually the clear point there. So that's one of the reasons we're counting off there. The transition there, the relevance of all the evidence. It was relevant to what she was talking about, and the transition of the smoothness from one point to the next within the evidence was pretty good. So for competency four, uh, her organizational pattern, I believe she had good organizational structure and internal transitions. The transition to the conclusion, it was a little bit choppy there. Kind of didn't go smoothly from one thing to the next and a couple of points there. She didn't really summarize the points very well within the body of it. She had a little bit of a summary there at the end, but wasn't a real clear summary within the each point that she was trying to make. And there was a kind of definitive uh, final statement there. There was a lot of things within there that I believe were good points that were made, but they weren't elaborated on to say, for example, uh, reasons that your sleep is very important to you, and lack of problems that lack of sleep can cause, and but there wasn't anything elaborated on how the lack of sleep causes those things. So it kind of would have been better to have a little bit more information on what the actual cause of those problems that sleep incurred. So that was my reason for the counting off there, the score of three there. For competency five, appropriate language. I believe she was bias sensitive. It was very formal. Uh, it didn't draw attention. It didn't draw attention to herself. You were kind of focused on what she was talking about, so that was very good. The One of the reasons we're counting off here, and I think it was mainly because there was it seemed as almost as if somebody other than her was in control of the PowerPoint presentation because She kept saying next when the transition was going to the slide, and that drew your attention a little bit away from what she was talking about. I kept hearing that next, next. So that was my only reason for counting off there. It was kind of like it deterred you from focusing on what she was talking about. Uh, for her competency six for the vocal presentation, I believe her rate, volume, and pitch was good, but there was a lot of reading. I can read the slides just as good as she can, and that's one of the first things that they teach you even in high school about giving presentations with PowerPoint is don't read it from the slide, because generally everybody in the audience can read the slide for themselves, and you probably already have given them a handout to read as well. So that was my reason for counting off there. I gave her a 3 on competency 6 for vocal presentation, mainly because there was a lot of reading, which made the transitions kind of choppy. Uh, for competency 7, the pronunciation, she had very good grammar. She was articulate. Her delivery was good for the most part, but like I said, a little bit choppy. She referred to her notes and kind of read off the slide a lot. And the continuing with the transitions with next between slides was a attention drawer, kind of broke your focus. So that's my reason for giving her a 3 there on competency 7 for pronunciation. Uh, for competency 8, I thought she kept eye contact for the most part, and she kept, even when she would refer to the slide or to her notes, she would come back and give eye contact. So I thought that was good. She did use her notes maybe a little too much. Her appearance was proper. Her gestures would let you know that she was engaged with you and to explaining about the material, and her facial expressions were appropriate, I think, for the most part. So I gave her a 4 there on competency 8. Grand total after you count all that up would be a 29. So that was my score for the final on that speech there. So I'm eager to see what everybody else thought about the speech as well. Thank you all and have a good evening.